On one beautiful day, Greg and Jimmy decide to climb a mountain.
After a long day of hiking, Greg suddenly became hungry. Jimmy then came up with a fantastic idea. He would cook lunch for both him and Greg. So Jimmy got a cooking. He set up his little cooking pit, set a fire, and started. All the while Greg just sit back and watched. After Jimmy was done cooking, Greg and Jimmy both sat down and began eating the delicious meal.
"What a great meal," said Greg. "Thanks," said Jimmy. Greg and Jimmy continued to have a conversation until Greg suddenly vomited everywhere. Jimmy then proceeded to vomit as well. Now, what happened, you may ask? Well, let's rewind to see what happened.
So here's what went wrong. Cooking at a high altitude is not the same as cooking at sea level. The oxygen levels of a place with a high altitude, such as a mountain, is lower than that of sea level. And going by Gay-Lussac's law, because the atmospheric pressure of a mountain is low, that also means that the temperature of the cooking pit is going to be low. However, this does not mean that the boiling point of water takes longer to reach. In fact, it takes less time, as the boiling point of water occurs when it is equal to the atmospheric pressure. Additionally, as a visual of how water's boiling point is affected by altitude, here's a particle diagram. Using water at room temperature at sea level as a reference, water at its boiling point at sea level is equal to its atmospheric pressure, and as a result, bubbles are formed. Whereas at a high altitude, there's less pressure exerted on the water, which means that it will take less time and heat for the water to reach its boiling point. In conclusion, because Jimmy and Greg did not cook food that involved water, they ended up eating undercooked food and got food poisoning as a result of not taking the necessary safety precautions for cooking at high altitudes.
Well, wasn't that an interesting explanation? Thanks, Janina. Now, anyway, let's see what would have happened if we hikers knew what they were supposed to do. Jimmy thought. Greg appears hungry. Why don't I cook him something to eat? Greg thought it was a nice offer by Jimmy to cook the meal, but Greg insisted that he'd cook since he was the more experienced hiker here and knew how cooking is affected by the high altitudes they are currently at. So as Jimmy ate his chicken, he watched Greg cook it and no one ever got sick. The end.
This time, the proper safety precautions were taken, and of course, resulted in a better outcome. The chicken was fried at a lower temperature to prevent it from overbrowning on the outside while being undercooked on the inside. The decrease in cooking temperature depends on the food that is being fried, but a rough guide would be lowering the frying temperature about 3 degrees Fahrenheit for each 1,000 feet increase in elevation.
This PSA was brought to you by 3 high school girls who tried their best to make this information available to new hikers, and our classmates who might become hikers one day. All information can be found on intergovernment website. If you actually get sick or die due to information given in this video, do not sue us to the website. We are not to be held accountable. We're sorry for your loss in advance if anyone dies. We're sorry if this is awkward, we are very awkward people and do not like recording ourselves, even though 2/3 of us are going to be on stage. By the way, you should totally buy tickets. The day of the show will be announced, and thank you for watching this.